Lefiya talked a lot. Nervousness and excitement played a big role in this, but another part of the reason was that she was also a student in the school district. Alicia looked at Lefiya lovingly and replied, "Because this is not what we expected." When she finished speaking, she gave a calm smile and continued. "You're right. Most adventurers are exhausted just maintaining their daily lives. Wealth and glory, or dreams and ambitions, most people who pursue them are desperately struggling against reality. However, some people, the greatest expectation of the high-ranking faction, including us in the Loki Familia, is to be powerful. The reasons boil down to one thing, which is to fulfill the world's sad desire." Upon hearing this, Lefiya suddenly realized the three great requests of adventurers that the whole world yearns for. Now that Zeus and Hera are gone, so someone else has to do it. And that someone else, of course, is the adventurer from Orario. Lefiya admitted that she had forgotten about it. As Alicia said, what people want Orario to do now is defeat the end of life. It has been this way since thousands of years ago. Seeking wealth, fame and ambition, of course, there are reasons for this in everyone's mind. But this is the fundamental reason why the Loki Familia, and the Freya Familia, known as the biggest factions in the city, have been attacking the dungeon. It's the same thing with me. I was born in a village in the northern lands near Dragon Valley. I came to Orario to drive out the hateful dragon that threatens the surrounding villages and forests. It may be a little inappropriate to say this, but I was driven by anger and a mission to become an adventurer. Alicia talked about part of her motivation for fighting as an adventurer, and then smiled and said, "Now I can fight like Saint Celia, and it's an honor to fight under Lady Riveria. I wouldn't say that everyone is fighting to save the world. However, we think we are very clear about our duty. Furthermore, perhaps adventurers instinctively understand one thing, that is, the mystery of the dungeon will be solved when you reach the deepest point. The unknown." Alicia concluded this way and gave her own answer to Lefiya's question. Lefiya was stunned for a moment and then said, "No, thank you very much," expressing her gratitude. At this moment, Lefiya's heart was beating so fast for some reason. Perhaps she was very excited to have come into contact with the members of the Loki Familia. After all, among adventurers, the Loki Familia must be very noble and dazzling. Then, in the heat of the moment, Lefiya asked another question. "You two think I'm targeting adventurers? Is that strange? How should I say, it's like a way out. When, of course, it's not a random decision, nor is there any impurity motivation. One reason is that Arisa praised her as a good option. Probably coming into contact with the splendid Alicia and the others was also a reason. She didn't want the other person to respond that's not very good, to agree. It's just that she was influenced and wondered if it could also become such a dazzling thing before her eyes, so she asked this question." Upon hearing this question, it was Aki who made a serious expression this time and said, "After all, I'm here for recruitment. I know I'm not qualified to say this, but I don't recommend you do this. I'm not a god, so I can't say for sure, but how Alicia is very optimistic about you, that means you must be an elf with great potential. However, if you want to become an adventurer just because others said so, then don't." Her heart felt like it was pierced, and there was heat around Lefiya's stomach. Anakiti was definitely not blaming, but told her in an advising voice. Being an adventurer is not a wonderful profession. The same goes for painful things. No, painful things represent the majority. Therefore, I cannot recommend you choose this path now. At least, until you decide to do it yourself, I won't recommend it. Hearing what she said, Lefiya felt as if a basin of cold water was poured over her. Anakiti's words from personal experience are very correct. Lefiya's motives are very superficial. Shame tormented the elf's ears, making her want to find a hole to climb into. So, she probably had a complete understanding of Lefiya's inner activities. Alicia pressed Anakidi's shoulder with one hand, approached Lefiya and said to her, "It's okay. It's not a shame to be interested. The important thing is that once you understand reality, don't just dwell on interest or desire, but think and act. For the things you want, for the goal you want to achieve. Or to find the target." Alicia caught Lefiya with her hand, then wrapped her other hand around her and smiled. Like a sister looking at her sister. Like an elderly person in life. So if you don't know what to do, go in and try. So feel free to make mistakes. It's young people's privilege to make mistakes. Only within the scope of redemption. She showed a mischievous smile for the first time. Seeing her, the figure of a senior elf teaching Lefiya with her eyes wide open, Anakidi shrugged her shoulders and smiled. "If you can hear my voice in the place you choose in the future. At that time, I will persuade and correct you over and over again." Lefiya still remembers that sentence. Perhaps, Alicia will be the first adventurer that Lefiya yearns for. Lefiya's hand was wrapped around her, and from that day onwards, she began to seriously consider her own exit. After interacting with Alicia and the others, she spent her days infiltrating the dungeon to obtain credits. Feeling the experience of an adventurer, she thought hard, but still couldn't find an answer. Is it an adventurer or is it a different job than an adventurer? Lefiya went to the Labyrinth City Rio and was deeply affected, resulting in this extreme thinking. Brother Vil. Long time no see. After you entered the school district, I thought that sooner or later you would come here like this. That day, Lefiya visited a certain cafe alone. This store was built in front of a small road in the southwest of Rio called Vice. Apparently, it was a cafe opened in the Labyrinth City by an elf from the same city as Lefiya. Upon hearing the name that was exactly the same as her hometown, Lefiya almost spat in her mouth, but she was very happy in her heart. The village's compatriots and the store's resemblance to her distant hometown made her homesick and at the same time alleviated her loneliness. Ultimately, she came to this store because she wanted to find someone who knew her younger self to advise her on leaving. However, "See, your relative." "No, Hedin. She's from the village. My friend's daughter." Like the owner, a bespectacled elf compatriot. The long golden hair is very beautiful, and the fair skin is also very smooth, everyone is jealous. This even made her inadvertently obsessively observe that appearance that can be called peerless beauty even though it is a man. "Wait, huh? Hedin." As soon as she tilted her head at the name, he closed the book he was reading, stood up and approached her. "It's a student from the school district. Are the adventurers targeted? And I'm not trying to convince her. Just tell her there is an option." When called by him, Lefiya, who rolled her eyes, heard the conversation between him and the owner, and didn't know what to say. The biggest faction in the city, Freya family, Hedin, could it be Hedin Selland? A first-level adventurer whose alias is, White Demon Wand. Like that Mrs. Riveria, one of the most famous elves. She didn't scream at the time, you can only say that it was a miracle. An unexpected encounter with one of the most powerful characters in Orario transforms Lefiya into a stone statue. Perhaps this shock was stronger than when I met Alicia and the others. Speaking of which, the shopkeeper was an older brother who lived like a goat when he was in the village. What happened to make him so close to the first-level adventurer? Just as Lefiya was thinking this and was confused in many ways, Hedin looked at Lefiya in fright and said, "Your magical power is very good. If you are interested, come here. My master will definitely like you very much. Although it is just my intuition."